Ready? Legal matter, exercise number 6, start. 3 years after I would watched the red kite circling above the graveyard, I once more stood at my father's graveside in the quiet country churchyard. No sound, just a warm breeze on my face and white clouds moving silently in the blue September sky. The grey headstone was stained, and the 3 years since I would last remarked on it could have been 10. No gilding to the letters on the plain, dull grey stone worn by the rain, wind, and ice in colder months meant close examination was required to discover whose bones lay interred there. I wondered about the kite, whether it is still hunted in these green fields with their cultivated woodland, dikes, and bubbling streams, or whether he would be displaced by the increasing presence of buzzards, whose plaintive crying from one bird to its mate could be heard clearly as they circled high, one above another till almost out of sight. We want plain stone, we don't want to spoil the churchyard with gilding or marble, my mother had said. That is what your sister wants, and she is organizing it. Yet, all around, amongst the ancient tumbled stones, were little enclaves of modern ones. Yes, perhaps brightly gilded and marble too, but at least you could see where your loved one was buried and what was wrong with that. But things had changed. I took a few paces behind and to the side of my father's grave to a new grave, one that was invisible, grown over with grass and weeds, even with a large lump of orange foam that had somehow become impressed in the earth. I dug out the foam, flinging it into a neighboring bed of nettles, then cleared a space around a small black plastic plaque, a name and aged 60 years at rest. I stood back and remembered the funeral again, led by a lady vicar, but this time unfamiliar. She would pronounced that if we, those of us standing at the graveside, presumably believed in Jesus Christ and God, then we would have eternal life, a license to go to heaven. Otherwise, ergo non partisans of the faith would not. My sister had become ill 2 years earlier, though the grim truth was kept from me for months. Motor neuron disease robbed of her independence, then mobility, then finally her dignity as she sat in a wheelchair, unable to move with an oxygen mask over her face, watching TV endlessly. She would not see me during her illness. Just once briefly, she did not want to talk, so I spent most of the visit sitting outside talking to my mother, who I would been estranged from for 9 months. There were posts and containers full of colorful flowers everywhere, but my sister could only view them through the window. Her wheelchair could not, for some reason, go outside. She is having a stair lift installed next week, said my mother. Later, I learned that she was never well enough to use it. And then there was the funeral, so many unfamiliar faces, many with tear streaked cheeks and red eyes. Who were they? I wondered. I would stood at the grave with her children, now grown up and distraught, as we took the soil and dropped it in, just as I would done for my father 10 years before, a few feet away. The after funeral festivities were for some odd reason held 20 miles away, so few locals could attend. My sister had lived just 2 miles from the church. Strange that 9 months later the only sign of her was that little bit of black plastic. With all that she would achieved in life, I hoped that someone somewhere was organizing a proper tombstone and that the grave would be cleared and made respectable. Full stop. Thank you very much.